News Radio 1400 KTEM. Good evening. I'm Jamie Garrett, and live from the palatial offices of head coach Mike Spradlin of the Temple High School Wildcat football team. We bring you the Temple High School football coaches show. It'll be followed at 6:30 by the UMHB coaches show. Pete Fredberg and John Wallin get back into action this Saturday, and you'll be able to catch that game on K1017, and that coaches show coming up here in just a few minutes. But here with head coach Mike Spradlin, we'll be joined in just a little bit by Ty McCorkle, a name and a number that we have been calling quite a bit over the last few weeks. And Coach, let's start off with the Manor game Friday night. Of course, another hard-fought district win, taking you 4 full quarters this time. And I've always been a guy that doesn't believe in the phrase, sometimes a great team needs to lose to refocus. I'm a firm believer that a hard-fought win can get just as much across as that alleged loss that can do some good. But certainly you had to play 4 full quarters for the first time in a month last night. How do you think overall your guys responded physically and mentally to that challenge?
Well, Jamie, I would probably have to say good and bad. I mean, I think when I look at the contest, there's no question in my mind that emotionally we were ready to play. And maybe to an extent that I don't think our focus was quite where it needed to be, maybe particularly offensively and in our special teams. I thought our defense did an outstanding job Friday night and probably carried the victory. Although at the same time, I thought late in the game we took over offensively, and I thought our strength and our desire, so to speak, kicked in. It was eerily for those Baylor fans out there, similar to the Baylor-Texas game. Manor did a good job of trying to shut down our passing game. Loaded the box up a little bit on us. It took us a little bit while to find our stride and find our rhythm. And I thought in the fourth quarter we took charge and went down and scored the 28-7, so to speak, go ahead, put the game out, touchdown based on how our defense was playing. So, it was a big ball game. Manor's, I told you last week, great. I think they're very, very good. They match us speed-wise. They match us athletically. They've got a ton of great players on their team. Some of them already with big commitments, and some of them with a lot of offers. And a team that's won 22 games in the last 2 years, and it was a great win for us the other night. And I think we've got us a pretty good football team. Well,
on the Manor side, Eric Fowler is as good as advertised. He had a great game the other night. But when you talk about trying to get into a rhythm offensively, you elect to receive the opening kickoff, I believe.
Yes.
And you get the opening kickoff, and here it comes. I don't think it was going to be an onside kick. I think it was just going to be a hard squib kick down the middle, and it's just one of those things, try to hit him again 100 times, you won't do it more than 90. I mean, it's just kind of a fluke thing. It bounces off one of your players at 100 miles an hour, bounces right back to him. Boom, the defense has got to get back out there, and I think they responded well that first drive.
Without a doubt, Jamie, and you're 100% correct. I don't think there's any question he wasn't trying to onside it. It absolutely couldn't have handcuffed our guy anymore. I mean, the ball hit literally right in front of him and then bounced up and hit him in the face. And it was just it's just one of those things. And I thought our defense did an outstanding job on that first series of coming out and taking care of business and shutting them down and getting us the ball back. But for me, Jamie, that's a lost possession at that point. I mean, now we've given them an extra possession and we've taken one away from ourselves. And then, of course, we go 3 and out on the first series, which in my opinion is another turnover and give them a possession. So we didn't start very well. And then Manor, of course, went down and scored on their second possession. And I was really, really proud at that point. We took the ball and went down and scored after that and made it 7-7. And then, of course, we fought back and forth for a while and turned the ball over a couple of times and had, some things happen to us. And I thought we did a good job of taking care of our business.
Well, there's 2 kinds of games where you struggle offensively, I think. There are the kind of games where you just can't get anything going and you end up going 3 and out or picking up a first drive and having to punt time after time after time. And then there's games like Friday night where it's a turnover here, it's a big penalty there. It just seemed that it was always something that sets you back a little bit. And you mentioned the turnovers. I think there were 3 in the first quarter, if you include that opening kickoff, a turnover. And so certainly a rough start, but only 11 pass attempts, I believe, in the game for Chad President, and for a young man that came out with almost 300 in the first half the week prior. And I know we're talking about 2 different teams, 2 different weeks, all that stuff, but that obviously, just from the looks of it, was by design. It's like you either knew ahead of the game or early on in the game that the passing game was something that they were going to take away from you, and you were going to have to win the game on the ground. Is that something you adjusted to mid-game?
We did. I mean, Jamie, the one thing, interesting thing about football is strategy is a huge part of it, and each week's a new week, and we don't always know exactly how people are going to line up. I mean, I've been a big believer that running the football is huge, and even though we like to spread it and throw it around, if you don't have a running game, teams that are running spread offenses that can't run the ball theoretically typically don't win, I've always believed that.
Denver Broncos last year, Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think for us, we put a premium on trying to run the football because we know in games where you're playing an athletic secondary, for example, which they are. Their free safety, I thought, was probably one of the best ones we've seen in a couple of years. And we did some good things running the ball. Marcus made him miss, Jeff made him miss, and Chad made him miss. So when you look at it and then you say, okay, well, they sure did take the passing game away. Yeah, and we had 3 guys over 100 yards rushing. So, our quarterback, Chad, had about 130, and Marcus had about 104, and Jeff was at, over 100 somewhere in there. So, to sit here and say, yes, people look at that and they say, well, they didn't quite do what they wanted to do. And the answer is we did exactly what we wanted to do. We went out and won the football game, and we just had to do it differently than we normally do. And I think that comes from being multidimensional. It's one of the things when I worked for Coach Browse that he was big on. You can't just rely on one thing. You can't, and we got into this a little bit last year even. We became one-dimensional to some extent in the running game because, we lost Chad. And so, as you get on into the playoffs, and being multidimensional is a much, much better thing. And so I was very, very proud of our guys for staying the course. I think our O-line did a good job against a very good defense, by the way.
A very good defense, and certainly on the other side of the field, when you talk about the Temple Wildcats defense, you can say the same thing because they were like a bail bond service because they were bailing out the offense time and time again on and special teams. There was not just that opening kickoff, but obviously the muffed punt as well that set up Maynard at or on the plus side of the 50 trying to move the ball in. And so the defense really stepped up to only give up 14 points considering the different times they were put in awkward situations and not much room to bend, and the amount of times they were asked to do that. To come out there focused as they did each and every time, kudos to them for stepping up. This is a completely different defense than we saw the first 2 weeks of the season.
Oh, absolutely, Jamie. I can't say enough good things about what those guys are doing. And you even look at, we had the other snap over the head on the punt. So the only gaffe we made, we held them down there and forced them to try to kick a field goal, and then we jumped offsides, and then they wound up scoring a touchdown. That was probably the one point defensively when we were disappointed, with our discipline there, so to speak. But other than that, Jamie, our defense kept us in the football game. There's no question about it. Gave our offense a chance to find their stride, which I believe that we did. And that's kind of been the interesting part about this football. So what I've enjoyed coaching these kids, this may be the most cohesive unit I've had in regards to everyone pulling for everyone type of thing. And that's not to suggest that, last year's team wasn't a great team in that respect too, but we're feeding off each other's energy now. It's not one side of the ball. The other night, we relied on us defensively. There's been times we've had to rely on our offense. So, I think what we're looking for is wins, and we got one the other night against a really good football team. Puts us 2-0 in the district, and right now the only 2-0 team in the district. Obviously, we had a couple teams with a bye. Hutto had a bye. But, it just more importantly puts us there. A good, hard-fought, tough win against a tough football team.
And those tough, hard-fought wins after big blowouts like you've had the past 2 weeks where the offense and defense only played the first half essentially, those don't always end up well. Those games, you call them hangover games, you call them trap games, whatever you call them. And certainly this was a Maynard team that nobody in the coaching staff that I talked to or anybody else was taking lightly.
Not a bit.
But, they certainly were as good as advertised. But I think that it shows a lot about Temple that you don't need 300 yards from Chad President passing it. It goes back to what you did last year with really a lot of the same people skill position-wise, where they came in without Chad President and won game after game after game, especially late in the season. But this year with a pretty full, healthy offensive set, especially the skill position guys, you look to be peaking, certainly heading in the right direction here in the district schedule. Offensively, offensive line continues to block well. Penalties, though, were the penalty bug, I guess you could say, snapped. And you've said in the past there are penalties that you can let go because of the fact that it was an effort thing or he was almost there, almost in position. What do you take out of, besides the jumping off sides on the defensive or on the special teams thing? What do you take out of the penalties that you saw Friday night?
Well, Jamie, I mean, I know people probably don't understand this, and don't misunderstand me to say that there's any penalties that are good penalties. There's not, unless they're going against the other team. but I think, when you move at the frantic pace that we move at offensively, one thing I've learned is that you're going to have to be prepared from time to time, that you're going to be in motion every now and then. It's just the nature of the beast. I've told people, okay, we can eliminate that. We'll have to huddle up. We'll break the line. We'll get up to there. We'll snap the ball with 4 or 5 seconds to go, and nobody will jump off sides. But if you're going to move and do what we do, it's going to go with it from time to time. It's just part of it. And as you move through the season, you hope that changes. So I mean, honestly, the other night, the penalty situation wasn't something that overly concerned me. We got a couple of holding calls, and the only thing that bothers me on the holds is that they're holding too, and that, I always get frustrated with that. When I look up and realistically, I don't know if they had one called against them, and I look on film and they're just. There's just some situations where I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you called that one on us and you didn't call that one. Those are things sometimes that frustrate me a little bit. All in all, I thought it was a pretty well officiated football game. I thought our biggest gaffes, quite frankly, in the penalty situation was the offsides on the field goal try. Thought that was a big one for us, and that was probably it. Jamie, I don't know. I've tried to analyze this. There's no question our kids. I felt like our kids were emotionally ready to play. They wanted to play football for whatever reason, and kids are kids. You were mentioning as you asked me that question. You made the comment that we had 2 blowout wins. The previous 2 weeks. There's some truth to that. I mean, kids are just kids. These are high school kids we're working with, and so there's a maturation process that goes through the year, and I think to be able to, I'm not real sure. I don't think our kids in any respect took Maynard lightly, but sometimes your expectation level gets skewed, if I'm making any sense. And I think we could have been a 4-touchdown better team the other night. I really do. But it wasn't going to come as easy maybe sometimes as we think it's going to come. So I think the way we've here's where we're at right now. Here's what I've focused our kids on. It's not about trying hard. We're doing that. It's not about effort. We're doing that. Those are things we've accomplished. It's about execution and focus now. It's not a try-hard league here. It's a be-good league. I mean, you have to be good, and so we're really kind of trying to hone that down right now this week to execution and focus and doing your assignment and doing it well because, I mean, honestly, our emotional attitude and effort's good.
Well, that's a good place to start, and certainly one of the stars of that defense, and a defense that a lot of people kind of wrote off going into the season that certainly turned things around the last month. Midpoint of the season here. Ty McCorkle, we're going to talk to him in a couple of minutes, going to get him out of class, delay his education momentarily, but we'll get him back to class quickly, and then we'll do that when we continue with the Temple High School Football Coaches Show coming up here in just a few on News Radio 1400 KTEM. News Radio 1400 KTEM. Jamie Garrett back for the Temple High School Football Coaches Show here with head coach Mike Spradlin. And, Coach, as we get into the second segment here, we've got a young man that is playing second year as a starter for you, but a completely new position and moving from outside to inside linebacker. That's quite a job to undertake in this change from last year's defense to this 4-2-5 this year.
Well, no question, Jamie. I mean, and Ty's done a great job with that. I mean, it's literally going from out there on the edge where things are, kind of happening to you in a little bit different way to moving inside that box where the bad guys live, so to speak. So he's really starting to pick it up. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's played extremely well. Ty's been a great leader for us since he's been here, particularly his junior and senior year. And this year he was elected a team captain for us by his peers and done a great job for us. Played really, really well the other night against Maynard. Well,
when you look sideline to sideline and you see a hit on the field that makes the crowd react and gasp for air, either the home crowd or the visiting crowd, because everybody reacts on a hit like that. You usually see Ty McCorkle, Quentin Smith, one of the linebackers at the bottom of the pile. And what has happened since that Austin Westlake game? You had some trouble stopping the passing plays later in the game, but since then, something just really seems to have clicked defensively for you guys, and you look like a completely different defense. What has happened?
Oh, man, I'm going to tell you right now, it was just the Westlake game. It was the lack of focus, and it was we was going slow at practice. We wasn't looking like the same defense as we were going against Round Rock. Mm-hmm. So it kind of showed while we was playing. And Coach Stewart, man, he clicked me. I don't know about anybody else, but he hit me pretty hard because the lack of stuff I was doing. While the ball's in the air, I'm walking. You know what I mean? You're supposed to hustle every time. Mm-hmm. So anywhere the ball is, you're supposed to hustle to it. So it kind of, and he kind of said some things to all of us, and I think that really clicked us. You know what I mean? It's he had to make us see we could, with this defense, we could make it. We could go somewhere. We could go to state. We could possibly go to state.
He seems to be a pretty good motivator in that sense. I would think he'd have a few things that he could say to you, but I would imagine that there's got to be a process in the change from outside to inside, and really everybody's responsibility probably changed a little bit in this 4-2-5 defense. But there had to be something other than that halftime speech or post-game speech, whatever it may have been. Something defensively, something in the concept of what's going on here must have clicked because you seem to be in the right place at the right time.
Oh yeah. I mean, man, it was when I think about it, when I was playing outside linebacker, I was just seeing everything, waiting for everything to happen to me. Mm-hmm. Now it's middle linebacker, man. It's my old coach, he went to UH, Coach Blesh. It's he told me in spring football, it's this is where the Bronx is, this is the Bronx. And the A gets it gets real serious. So, yeah, ever since he told me that, it's I've been, ready, be on my feet.
Strapped up, ready to go.
Yes, sir.
And I would imagine it's just split-second decision. You think about football, you think it's a brawny, stronger than the guy next to you, but it comes down to things like footwork, something you might hear in ballet. It comes down to, just that first read, especially in all these read offenses. You've got to know what's going on upstairs to get this.
Yeah, you got to play quick and, react fast, and bring some I call it the boom. You got to bring some boom to it. So, yeah, man, it's like Coach Bliss said, the A gets real serious.
Now, it happened so quickly in Friday night's game. Who had the big WWE hit that was shown on all the TV shows that night? Who was that? Was that you?
Hold on.
Was you or Quinn? One of the two from Friday night.
I think it was Quinn.
I do too. I
think it may have been, but it's hard to tell because that it's going to be one of those two numbers coming up from the bottom when you see a hit like that. But it's got to help playing, pardon the expression, but off the big backside of the Hernandez twins there in the middle. It probably helps that they're clearing a lot of real estate in front of you too.
Yes, sir. I'm accountable for them. You know what I'm saying? I put my trust into them. The law firm, we was talking to each other, and we was man, I want if you have my back, I got your back. We was just talking about football. So, and then had one of those talking, and then we go onto the field. It shows.
And they're clearing a lot of territory.
By the way, you might have heard him say the law firm. We've affectionately named him a year ago Hernandez and Hernandez, and that's a law firm deal. So
attorneys at law.
Attorneys at law. Yes.
And they just continue to clear the way for you there in the middle. But part of the linebacker position, especially in this day and age, and I sound like my grandfather when I say something like that, but everybody loves to throw the ball. And you haven't seen, last week against Manor, I think the quarterback rushed 23 times for 14 yards, something in that neighborhood. So you're holding that quarterback at bay, but you still got to deal with that passing game downfield. That's got to make it difficult because here you are geared up to go forward. Now all of a sudden you're backtracking.
Oh yeah, man. Coach Stewart taught me how to have greedy eyes. Even the drop back in coverage. You still got to watch for that quarterback because he can scramble anytime he wants to. Every time he see the field, he got to scramble. And that line, you could get through him all the time. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta, as soon as he scramble, you gotta just get on it, press that gear, and go forward.
It's that split-second decision, back and forth. But in a game Friday night against Manor, that they had just pitched a shutout the week before. So coming in, you probably had a feeling that defensively, you guys were going to have to be on your A game.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not to the extent that you ended up, having to have your back against the wall a couple of times because some turnovers. But I think defensively, you guys responded incredibly well. What was it like to get back out there for a full 4 quarters again?
Oh man, it was amazing. It was fun. To tell you the truth, it was fun. I mean, it didn't get boring. I ain't trying to be disrespectful to the university. You know what I'm saying? I was being myself. You know what I'm saying? It was I'm flying to the ball. having fun, getting up, celebrating with my teammates. It's a lot. It's fun.
And for 4 full quarters, the stamina was still there. You talk about that moment that it clicked for you on defense was something that Coach Stewart had said to you. But at some point in time, whether it was against Manor, whether it was in a game early in the season, that Round Rock game, you had to have at least, even if you don't like the summer conditioning and all the weight, all that goes into preparing for a season, you probably like getting out of the field, but you have to have an appreciation of what you guys are able to do in the fourth quarter based on the hard work that you put in through, the foundation that's been built here.
Oh, yeah. It comes to the point where everybody knows what kind of football player they want to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, in your heart, you know what kind of player you want to be. You want to be the playmaker. You want to be, like, the big player, the big playmaker. So it gets to the point where you got to have a mentality and say, hey, I know I could do better. I know I could be the best there is, So I was the kind of football player that couldn't wear his jersey to school on Fridays with the rest of the football players because I had gotten it dirty in the JV game the night before. So that was the kind of football player I was. But we know that the middle linebackers there's only 2 of you in there. And even when you got out of the game against University and the week prior against Harker Heights in the second half, the guys that filled in behind you there did a really great job, especially in the University game. It's got to be good. Do you instantly kind of become coach over there on the sideline, talking to them as they come off? Oh, yes, sir. Most definitely. I ain't be sitting on the sideline and just be like, hey, let me sit back and just watch. No, I'm coaching my my backup because I want him to be great as me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I get hurt, I'm holding accountable for him. I want him to do.
So you're not back there playing in the Gatorade bath for after the game or anything?
No,
okay,
sir.
so
No, sir.
And certainly the competition is going to continue to get tougher as you go along. Each game gets more and more important here in the district, and you head back out on the road this week. What do you know against Pflugerville Conley offensively that you're going to be looking for?
I'm gonna be looking for speed because for these past games I've been seeing speed all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of working my way up there and trying to get fast.
Kind of get you cranked up to an extra gear on Friday night.
Yes,
so, all right. Well, we look forward to seeing it Friday night. Certainly appreciate your time. Ty McCorkle joining us this evening here on the Temple High School Football Coaches Show. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And best of luck Friday night. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, wrap things up, get it to the UMHB Coaches Show that's coming up next with Pete Fredenberg and John Wallin. That's next on News Radio 1400 KTEM. News Radio 1400 KTEM. Welcome back to the Temple High School Football Coaches Show. I'm Jamie Garrett here with head coach Mike Spradlin. Again, thanks to Ty McCorkle for joining us just a few minutes ago. UMHB Coaches Show coming up in just a couple of minutes with Pete Fredenberg and John Wallin as we look to another road game Friday night against Pflugerville Conley. Now, looking back, I think Pflugerville Conley, didn't they give up Waco's first win of the season Friday night? Am I thinking right?
They did.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
So certainly they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder. That's a game they probably marked down as one they expected to win, and they'll come out with a chip on their shoulder Friday night. We're not homecoming, are we?
No, I don't
it's
think
happened
we are.
once.
I don't know. We might be.
Season.
I don't know, but I don't think so.
But Pflugerville Conley, gets the full attention of the coaching staff, and I'm sure the players are refocused after a close game Friday night for full 4 quarters. What do you expect offensively from Pflugerville? What do they do that concerns you as you send the defense out there?
Well, I mean, here's what I know. Jason Cecil's in his first year at Conley High School. Jason's a very, very good football coach, and so what I know when I turn on the film and look at it is they're very sound. They're sound defensively. They line up right. They get lined up right. And the same thing offensively. They're big up front. I mean, their offensive line, they're doing a good job. They've struggled a little bit at the quarterback position. We've got 2 really good receivers, and then they've got a running back that's the second leading running back in the district. So, their bugaboo, honestly, if you look at their stats, has been they've turned the ball over. So they're making some mistakes that are kind of leading to their demise, so to speak. But honestly, got a ton of respect. I'm a respecter of all opponents, and I have a ton of respect for what those kids are trying to do. And I can promise you at home, they're going to try to give us everything they got, and we're going to try to do the same.
Well, it sounds like one of those something's got to give thing, because one of the things about the defense is they're doing incredible work, given that they haven't been able to be in the right spot at the right time for an interception or a fumble. There were certainly opportunities Friday night, everything from Gilberto or Sergio had a ball go through his hands at one point in time on a screen. So just not there in the right spot. Something's got to give. They turn the ball over. Temple hasn't forced a ton of turnovers. You hope it certainly comes your way and you break out and get a couple of those turnovers. because that's a big part of the game, and your defense has been playing well considering there haven't been many to come by.
There really has, Jamie, and it's a focus for us. I mean, we want to get the ball turned over, and of course we consider 3-and-out turnover too.
A lot of those.
There's been a few of those. I think what we've done, what I tried to do Saturday with our football team is, it's kind of what you were talking about earlier. It's that proverbial, lessons learned, looking ahead, are you looking ahead, all those things. And of course, what I'm focusing our kids on is day at a time, week at a time. And that's really, really the key here. And I think we've, it's that age-old deal. I know, Coach is always saying, you hear them, and usually the guys are getting beat, that, losing will create character and all that. And I guess I agree with that. I just want to teach that character to other people. I mean, I think that's – so I think what I'm trying to say is that, kind of a little bit of a wake-up call for us. But I will say this, against a good football team and grinding out that win, when maybe if we'd have been on top of our game, wouldn't have been quite as big of a grind against a good football team. I think it's what you said earlier, lesson learned, but unfortunately in a victory. Yeah. And so I think there's been a big, we went out, Monday and had as good a workout as it's probably the best Monday we've had all year. So, it tells me that maybe we hit the mark.
Well, offensively, a couple of INTs, a couple fumbles, special teams got into the turnover game as well. You come out against Pflugerville-Conley. What do they bring defensively that you think this offense is going to break out?
Well, Cecil, the head coach, Justin Cecil, is a defensive guy. He was a coordinator at Stony Point. He was he took the job at McCallum, and he did a good job at Austin McCallum there in his first head coaching job, and now he's at Conley, and he's going to have. He gets them lined up right. There's not any. You don't turn on the film and say, "Oh my gosh, what are they trying to do?" They know what they're trying to do, and they're doing. They're trying to do it well. He's not going to. His kids are going to be in the right positions. Offensively, the same thing. I think their goal is to try to spread the field out. They want to toss it around a little bit. They want to run the football, and they've got a good running back to do that. So they kind of force you to defend the field and take care of business. And they've struggled at times, but as any team you see later in the year playing better than they were first of the year, what you start noticing is that as they go through game to game and week to week, if you watch it, it's getting better. And the reason they're getting better is it's their first year under a coach. They're buying into what he's telling them. You can tell they're playing extremely hard. And of course, they went out and put 23 points on Waco High, which was a season high for them points-wise. So and Waco High's good defensively. So it's going to require us to be strong and to take care of business.
And again, it was late night Friday night before I saw the highlights, so I may have been half asleep already. But I think that they made some comeback effort in the second half against Waco High. So
they did.
And
had it within 8 late in the game.
Yeah, and just like with Scott Stewart's defense, talked to Ty McCorkle about that earlier. At some point in time, it clicks, and you just hope it doesn't click Friday night against Temple High on the road. So we'll have that game at 7 o'clock here on KTIM and on K1017 on the FM side. So if you're headed down to the game, 1017 on the FM side might be the place to catch the last of the pregame as you head in, and certainly the postgame as you head out. Hopefully back up Highway 95 with a victory. So we'll talk again Friday night in the pregame show. Coach, thank you so much for your time. And again, thanks to Ty McCorkle. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and we'll get to that UMHB Coaches Show with John Wallin and Pete Fredenberg right after this on News Radio 1400 KTEM.